Methylfolate.
Folic acid fortification of food, very good. Methylfolate supplementation for adults.
Any neurological benefit?
You probably won't get very much. If there's something, it's going to be quite small. But the wonderful thing is folic acid fortification of food has been very good for reducing the rates of birth defects. Fewer neurotubular birth defects, babies coming out disabled at birth. That's wonderful. And all we have to do is change the diet a little bit.
SAMe, S-A-M-E, which is adenosine something, which is used for depression.
SAMe. I'm afraid I don't know it, but it sounds like something adenosine based.
It's a vitamin. How about oregano or saffron?
Oh, nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah.
So oil of oregano doesn't kill any bacteria?
No, it's not really going to help you. I mean, it might help in like a lab setting, but if you start taking it as a supplement, you're not going to get anything from it.
How about a daily olive oil shot?
This became pretty popular after Starbucks started promoting it. I saw a bunch of this and it just tasted awful.
Yes.
I had it a few times because I was like, I'll try the different drinks they have. Couldn't stand it, but was happy to see it doesn't actually do anything either.
So you would say that olive oil supplementation, no benefit?
Yeah, for most people, it's going to be nothing. The thing is, most of the conclusions you get in trials are going to be like these population representative samples or samples you get from a hospital of a condition or something like that. Like they're selected in some way or they try to be unselected and then they go, nothing for everybody. But there might be some subpopulations that could benefit from pretty much any supplement.
How do we say, so I have two questions. How do you long-term study preventative supplementation? Meaning, I'm just curious. Number two, have you factored out genetic specificity to how some people, for example, there's something called the MFR gene, MFTR gene mutation, that methylfolate is supposed to help.
For fat metabolism and stuff.
Yeah. Is there any truth? So take it one by one. How do you long-term do trials for preventative supplementation? And then we'll go to the second question.
For that, you just have to run a long trial. If you have a hypothesis, so you have a scientifically led discovery of something you think will be preventative for this or that, then you run a long-term trial. That's really all you can do. Or you look at a longitudinal cohort that has variation in use over time, or you pay people to start using in a cohort you're monitoring over time. That's about all you can do. So the study designs are all pretty limited. They're all just long-term things. The other thing with genetic specificity, so for general population trials, you randomize them. You run an RCT, that means you have one group getting a placebo or an alternative treatment, and one group like standard care. So for like diabetes-related drugs, we don't give them a placebo, we give them insulin instead of the other thing.
Sure.
So you give them placebo, whatever, and you give them the active drug. And you compare these general population samples, and they're randomized so that there's no genetic variation, you would hope, at a large enough sample size that matters across these two groups. But if you want to stratify that way, you have to go ahead and test them beforehand. Or you can do a post hoc test where you test afterwards and you get data on like what variations of this gene do they have, and then you see, did they have larger or smaller effects? Often when you do it post hoc, you'll have too small of a sample to actually find very much. You'll have low statistical power, so you'll end up with conclusions that are iffy because they're just weak. But if you actually go into a trial ahead of time and you stratify them by their some known genetic variants you think will modify the effect, you can pretty easily do that, and you can just go ahead and see if it actually leads to like a larger or smaller effect.
Is there any truth to the fact that certain gene mutations might make you more likely to benefit from certain supplements?
Absolutely. Massive. Actually, it's interesting. Statins, about 30% of people, it's a very large portion, get myopathy from statins. They feel weak. And this is so common that tons of people have gone through heart disease because they prefer not to feel weak. And for some people, it's actually debilitatingly weak. They can become incredibly weak due to the action of just a few genes or just a few mutations. For example, in the HMGCR gene, that is where we know the mechanism of like statins works from. And we have treatments now, well, they're being developed, they're not actually out yet, where you can interrupt on like that pathway from HMG-CoA reductase to mevalonate, where you can supplement the end product, and it doesn't increase their LDL or anything, but it does give them back their muscular function. So there's massive genetic variation that augments the effects of drugs. You see this for antidepressants. You see this for statins, like I just said. You see this for PCSK9 inhibitors. You see this for many, many classes of drugs, even for lots of anti-cancer agents, response to chemotherapy, tons of things. Usually the genetic moderation is modest. It's very small. In rare cases, it's serious side effects. It's, for example, about a small portion of people are allergic to a form of natural dye, cochineal-based dye from like a little beetle, and they'll just die.
Oh.
So yeah.
Are we doing gene testing before prescribing pharmaceuticals?
Generally not, because for most things we prescribe, there's no reason to, or there's not a big reason to. And what you'll find is that people, for example, if they're a low responder to a certain antidepressant, they'll just switch off it after a month or two. They'll be on it for a little while, they'll get their treatment, and then they'll go, oh, this isn't working for me, doc. I need to go on something else. And then you switch them. That's how it's been handled. But if we can predict ahead of time, which we can do now, we can actually start doing that. We just need to get more people genotyped and then have their doctors be able to learn how to use that information.